The first thing Dr. Alistair Graves noticed about apartment 4B was the quiet. It wasn't peaceful. It was the thick, absorbent quiet of a place that has learned to swallow sound. The air in the hallway seemed to ripple with heat, but a chill bled from beneath the apartment's door. The realtor, a sweating man named Peterson, fumbled with a heavy keyring. The key for 4B was longer than the others, iron black and cold to the touch. It ground in the lock with a shriek of protesting metal before finally turning. Peterson said, "This is a lovely place," his voice too loud in the silence. The door swung inward. The apartment was a perfect, sterile cube. White walls, white tiles, a single window looking onto a brick wall. It was empty except for one item, a tall antique mirror in a tarnished silver frame, standing directly opposite the door. Graves felt a prickle of unease. It was positioned like a sentry. His reflection looked pale, stretched thin. Peterson said, "The previous tenant left in a bit of a hurry. We can have it removed." "We will remove it soon, sir. As soon as possible." Dr. Alistair Graves said, "No, it's fine. I don't have any problem. I can adjust easily." He was a man of routine, a psychiatrist who believed in order. He moved in his few possessions, a bed, a desk, books. He placed them with care, but the mirror dominated the space. It didn't just show the room. It seemed to hold a slightly different version of it. The light was always dimmer in the reflection, the shadows in the corners deeper and more numerous. The first incident happened a week later. Graves awoke at 3 a.m., his heart hammering. The room was dark, but a sliver of moonlight cut across the floor. He had the undeniable, animal sensation of being watched. Slowly, he turned his head toward the mirror. In the gloom, his own form was a dark shape on the bed. And beside it, sitting on the edge of the mattress in the reflection, was another, denser shadow. It was leaning over the sleeping form, head cocked, as if listening to dreams it couldn't have. Graves froze, breath trapped in his chest. He did not blink. After an eternity, the shadow dissolved, merging back into the general darkness of the mirrored room. He spent the rest of the night with the lamp on, facing the wall. The quiet of the apartment became an entity. It fed on the tick of his watch, the hum of the refrigerator, turning them into intrusions. He began to hear his own thoughts echoed back a half-second later, a faint whisper just below hearing. When he spoke aloud to break the silence, the words sounded muffled, dead on his lips. Then came the footsteps. They were soft, barefoot pads on tile, always from the area of the mirror when his back was turned. He'd spin, and there would be nothing. But in the reflection, he sometimes caught the after-image of a footprint fading on the clean floor, or the door to the mirrored bathroom swinging gently to a stop. He stopped sleeping. Caffeine and dread thrummed in his veins. His reflection began to worry him. Its eyes seemed darker, its posture subtly wrong. A tilt of the head he didn't remember making, a smirk that vanished when he leaned closer. One evening, shaving, he nicked his chin. A bead of blood welled up. He reached for a towel. When he looked back, the blood in the reflection was still there, but it had drawn a single, deliberate line down the mirrored chin, like a tear of rust. He decided to cover the mirror. He bought a heavy woolen blanket and approached it after sunset, his hands trembling. In the glass, his reflection approached him, its face a mask of terror. Its hands were empty. Graves clutched the blanket tighter. As he raised his arms to drape it, his reflection shook its head violently, mouthing a silent scream. A cold so profound it felt like burning shot up Graves's arms. The blanket slipped from numb fingers. He stumbled back, gasping. In the mirror, his reflection was bent double, also gasping. But it was looking up at him from under its brow with an expression of pure, gleeful hatred. He was trapped. Leaving the apartment brought no relief. The memory of the thing in the mirror followed him, a pressure between his shoulder blades. The world outside began to look thin and unreal. Only the apartment and its silent twin in the glass held any weight. The final night began with a sound, a long, slow scrape of metal on glass. Graves, dozing fitfully at his desk, jolted awake. The sound was coming from the mirror. In its depths, he saw the source. His reflection was there, but it was turned away, facing the mirrored wall that was the real room's blank opposite. It was dragging the pointed leg of his reflected desk chair down the surface of its own wall, etching a line. Slowly, meticulously, it was drawing a door. Horror glued Graves to his seat. He watched as the reflection worked, its movements methodical, almost artistic. It finished the outline, a perfect rectangle, and then began to scratch a series of intricate, spiraling symbols around the frame. The air in Graves's real apartment grew thick and sour, tasting of ozone and old stone. The single bulb in his ceiling lamp began to dim, as if a vast darkness was drinking the light. The reflection stopped scratching. It turned and looked at him. Its face was his, but worn, knowing, its eyes pits of static. It smiled, a slow, cruel stretch of lips that Graves had never made. Then it turned back, placed its palms flat on the etched door within the mirror, and pushed. In Graves's real world, with a sound like cracking ice, a black seam appeared in the center of his white wall. It split vertically, following the exact dimensions of the door drawn in the glass. Plaster dust sifted to the floor. From the deepening blackness beyond the seam, Graves felt a breath, an exhalation that was not air, but the absence of it, carrying the scent of damp soil and forgotten places. The reflection stepped through its drawn door and vanished from the mirror. A hand, cold and firm as marble, fell on Graves's real shoulder from behind. He couldn't scream. His muscles were locked. In the surface of his polished desk, he saw the distorted image, his own body, rigid in the chair, and the thing standing behind him. It wore his face, but it was a hollow mask, filled with the hungry dark from the other side of the glass. It bent its head close to his ear. That thing said, "Thank you for the room. I was so very bored. Being with you and playing with you is so fun." It leaned over him. In the final second, as his vision tunneled into the blackness of the newly opened door, Graves saw the mirror. It no longer reflected the room. It showed a clean, white, empty apartment, a perfect, sterile cube. And in the center, sitting calmly at the desk, staring out with calm, possessive eyes, was his own image. It gave a final, slow smile, and then turned to examine the books, to touch the furniture, to begin its new tenancy. The quiet in apartment 4B deepened, becoming absolute. It was the quiet of a space, finally and completely occupied.